This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
I need 3 of those things, baby. We ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. You like that? You like that? I like that.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 143. I am Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
And this episode, we will be focusing mainly on the NFL draft and what we thought about it, and the I told you so's and the I didn't tell you so's. We'll be talking also about our MLB The Show content. We'll be talking the Clint Eastwood segment, as always, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll be talking, like I said, about the draft, what our thoughts are on the notable picks. And then we have our bingo card pick that Spennis will talk about here soon. Our primetime game, where we talked challenge accepted, insert Barney Stinson here. And then and then our stud dud of the week. So, where do you want to start, Spennis? Where do we want to start?
Well, I think we start out that ultimately, yes, you did officially release the Mac episode.
Mac Attack.
Yes, you actually have a first episode with Maction, where it is because what is this? It's not truly the first cross between us and Two Nerds, because I have gone over, but now this is actually truly your first cross with Two Nerds.
Yep.
And our friends Lam and Mac, as Mac has now come over here. We still need to figure out a way to get Llama over, but I think that will come with some time.
Yep.
However, definitely what has been big is that we add another year to this old bag of bones. As actually at time we are recording this on, yes, the elder member of the podcast is now still on the wrong side of 30.
Dirty 30s?
Ruckus, I've been on the wrong side of 30 for a few years. Today is officially 35, so...
Congrats, dude.
So,
I'll be 28.
Happy birthday, yep.
I'll be 28 in August, so I'm getting there. I'm getting to my dirty 30s.
Good luck. You got a couple years till you hit that. That club. You'll hit 30. You'll hit 30 before I hit 40. So that's
as far as content for me has gone. Besides the Mac collab with Mac Attack, I managed to apparently not kill Dylan Cease in my recent Strike to the Venom episode, where I literally bolt this dude in the face with the ball coming right at him at like probably about 90 or 100 miles an hour. Literally, the ball hits his dome. He just kind of like sits there and he's like, and then 2 seconds later he's like, yep, I'm okay. And it's like, dude, Arise had it way worse, in a sense, where he was just like decked and was just like unconscious for a little bit. That should have killed Cease. He should have ceased to exist. Anyways.
Yeah, and with you being in episode 5, how far into the season are you at this point? At this point currently?
I believe I'm postseason bound. I haven't done my episode
I was talking
yet.
at the time of release. Like where episode 5 puts you.
I believe that puts me closer to the playoffs, like playoff
I
time.
No dip, Sherlock. Are you at the All-Star break? Are you at the trade deadline?
Dude, I don't know. It literally told me like it's been a while. Okay.
Yeah, all right. I was like, has your calendar reached the end of July? But my episode of This Ain't About Swings, It's an Arms Race. That is my trade deadline episode where I pick up a couple of arms. I don't really get position players. I wanted position players, can't necessarily get them, so I'm having to adapt.
I feel like you get extra lucky when it comes to bullpen stuff rather than like position players, because not a lot of teams are willing to give up some of their players, and if they do, it's very crappy ones.
Oh, but there are certain players that if you've got a hot commodity, you could make it work. I just think that the problem is that I think with the way I was positioned and what players I was necessarily trying to get or need, it just didn't have it.
Yeah.
There's certain runs, I think, and also I think another season, I think if I would have gone 2 seasons on this one like I did with my other, there'd be players galore. But this one here, it's like, okay, I was getting more pitching help, which was a plus. In Road to the Show, we are currently in the doldrums of AAA, but there are a couple of major pieces down the line, especially as you get into the middle of May. There will be major events happening. And yes, I still plan to record the next March to October. And now I will give you another clue. This team in this century has had a season where they have won over 100 games. In this century, the 21st century so far, this team has had a 100-win season in its franchise history. I'm sure you know exactly which team this is, Ruckus, because I think I've told you. But
I don't remember.
I figured.
I'm waiting for our next segment here, to be honest with you, my guy.
Yep. All right. So, we are now into the Eastwood segment of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right, here we go. All right, so the good for this week's Menace. Is this also something from that wasn't on your bingo card?
Yes, this was not on my bingo card because I figured, I'm like, oh, when I'm hearing new stadium talks, I ruled out this site because I was not expecting it to be something that ownership would have done, because at the last major time that new stadium talk was going on, Dan Snyder was still the owner. New owner, but
I can just imagine Dan Snyder just going as that was happening.
But here's what but I will say this. The best thing about this new owner for the Washington Commanders is that he has been so in touch with the franchise's history, and it also kind of helps that he's also a native who kind of loves being able to stay in touch, like keep it, like even though it's a new team name, he still respects the legacy. And he was able to work out a $3 to $4 billion deal for a new stadium. But the part that has this not be on the bingo card, they are going to tear down old RFK and rebuild a new stadium on the RFK site. Now, you probably wouldn't know very much about this.
I saw like an abandoned video where like people would like go inside of the stadium, and it was actually cool to like watch the video and see like the parts that were like super old, and then like see if there's like stuff that's still inside little nooks and crannies of the place.
Yeah,
the
like
old
you're talking
like
RFK, like RFK Stadium you're talking about.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's a very cool looking stadium for sure.
Oh yeah, and I am very, very hopeful that also knowing what the vision of Josh Harris is with the Commanders and tying to some of that legacy, I would love for some certain elements of what nostalgic RFK is like to possibly be a thing. And it also is really nice that the Commanders are now finally going to be back in Washington, D.C. instead of out in Landover.
Do you think there's going to be more push for the Redskins to come back, or do you think they're going to keep it at the Commanders?
Harris has already stated that new name change is not, or reverting back is not going to happen. He's already made that very, very clear. That as much as that side of the nostalgia is there, unfortunately, there are just certain too many things that say stay woke.
Yeah. All right.
However, I am excited for this because it's that thing that makes you, as a Commanders fan, just it feels like you're bringing things back to the roots of where greatness was. You have a great season last year. You've made a fan base happier by saying, "Hey, we're going to go back to the old RFK site, but we're going to build something new there." And it makes an good old boy from the Beltway happy. The not so great in sports this week, unfortunately, involves Damian Lillard has suffered a torn Achilles and done for the season and possibly next year. And Doc Rivers is saying Dame ain't going down like that.
Yeah, it also kind of sucked that like the past like even before the play-in started, like they were talking about him having like blood clots in like his leg or whatever.
Oh yeah, like his health is starting to not necessarily deteriorate, but it's starting to put a wear on him. But realize that Damian Lillard also turns 35 in July.
Damn.
So
isn't LeBron James like 10 years older than him? Like 45?
No. LeBron James is only 40.
Damn.
Yeah. LeBron James turns 41 in December. Like right as the year wraps up. And then the downright ugly is that Jared Duran was taunted by a fan at Progressive Field, and the fan was tossed after trying to go after the Red Sox center fielder. Or the Red Sox outfielder.
Yep,
and this
the
is
guys
the first
that I
time
covered earlier this
Yeah.
year.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the first time since the documentary had came out that somebody has taunted him about all of that. Which is kind of a really, really bad look for the fan, especially.
Well, also back in the day, even before Duran, Zach Greinke had a lot of anxiety problems with the Royals, and I think there was a year where he was gone for like about a year or so, and like fans were ridiculing him and whatnot because mental illness at that time and still today has been kind of like either an excuse or it feels more of like an excuse rather than something that is like actually warranted. And nowadays we're starting to see more and more of acceptance towards that mental side of things.
Yeah, and mental health, especially in men, does not get acknowledged as much as it should. But now we can move on to our main topic of the high heat. And we are talking about the NFL draft. Yes, I will mention some things real quick about the NBA playoffs because it's not like we are going to completely skip over it. The Cleveland Cavaliers have already advanced. The Boston Celtics will prepare to advance. At the time of this recording, they are up.
Yeah, the Cavs like stomped on the Heat.
They're down two, but yeah, the Heat.
The Heat got heated.
The Heat got knocked out. The Knicks and Pistons are playing, and Detroit's currently keeping it alive. They're up by two. They're up by two right now, and they're currently actively playing. The Indiana Pacers have defeated the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1, and this will wrap up, and that will round out the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder brought out the brooms and dustpans. Golden State will play Houston to try and close out that series in Game 5. And the Minnesota Timberwolves will then look to close out the LA Lakers. Game 5 between the Nuggets and Clippers is later tonight at the time of recording. So we're having some teams kind of start to close out some series. And the first round of the playoffs is more than likely by the weekend going to be done. But that digression aside, we now move on to the NFL draft.
The thing we were all actually here for.
Yep. The notable picks. The notable picks in round 1. Cam Ward to the Titans at the first overall slot. The Jaguars trade up with the Cleveland Browns and take Travis Hunter.
I'm very happy for Travis Hunter on that one because I would rather him be in Jacksonville rather than Cleveland. Because at least in Jacksonville, it doesn't seem as taboo to have a new guy there. Whereas in Cleveland, it's like, oh, they're going to chew him up and spit him out and not really give him a chance to really show his true talents. And I think for that, it was good for Hunter to go to the Jags.
And then the Browns take Mason Graham. The Giants make a statement in the first round, taking Abdul Carter at 3, and then trading up back into the first round to get Jackson Dart at 25th overall. Ashton Junty to the Las Vegas Raiders at 6 overall.
Josh
Tyrone
Jacobs
McMillan
replaces.
goes 8th overall to the Carolina Panthers. And the two tight ends that were at the top of the draft go in the top 15 as Colston Loveland goes 10th overall to the Bears, and Tyler Warren goes 14th overall to the Colts. And this kind of rounds out a lot of the first round. But are there any notable picks that, whether we talked about them in this brief mentioning, or maybe may not have talked about during it, that kind of caught your eye as far as the first round?
So Ashton Jaunty, he reminds me in a way of like a Josh Jacobs or a Zamir White for the Raiders. He's like that extra piece. I don't know if you would say that he's almost like Derrick Henry in that sense, but yeah.
No. At 5'9", 211, definitely not Derrick Henry.
And then my favorite, I don't know how this pick is going to turn out for the Chiefs, but Josh Simmons, I think he'll be the left or right tackle of the future. We'll just have to see how things go and how his knee holds up, because it could either be very good that player got through it, or it could be a decline and we could have had a bust. But who knows? We still gotta wait and see what happens at mini camp and training camp and all that good stuff.
Here are a couple of quieter picks that are very interesting in my eyes. At 19, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who already have Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin who is currently still on the mend.
Dude, his like foot is like in Antarctica, while his like actual leg is still in Tampa.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that he is on the mend. Like, Chris Godwin is still on the mend. So I think this is a very good decision for Tampa Bay to go with a receiver that can kind of play like a Godwin in a way. The very next pick after that, another one that kind of just slipped under the radar. Jahdae Barron from Texas. The defensive back going to the Denver Broncos. A versatile DB, but you're getting an opportunity in that DB room to work with the best corner in the league and potentially start opposite him. Jahdae Barron just got an amazing job spot.
I'm really excited to see what the Chiefs do as far as like how the talent shows for the edge rusher that we got, and then the cornerback,
Yeah.
and then we also got Jalen Royals. I'm excited to see how Royals does. It's kind of funny because that's our baseball team, and we're probably going to see a lot of memes about that later in the future, depending on how things go for Jalen Royals. I'm excited.
And then I also like the Ravens pick of Malachi Starks as well to go opposite Kyle Hamilton. Jihad Campbell to the Eagles after that trade up with Kansas City. Conerly will be interesting in Washington, as that was definitely a cover for just in case Sam Cosmi's not going to be able to come back early enough. But I do like the Jaunty pick to Las Vegas. The Abdul Carter pick to the Giants. Mason Graham adds an element to Cleveland's defensive line. But there were definitely some notable things. But even more notable is that Shedeur Sanders went all Tom Petty, and his draft stock went free falling as he has to wait till the third day.
Well, someone
Round
really
five,
another Tom
taken-
Petty song. The Drew Sanders call from a prank call perspective really wrecked him, baby. Oh yeah, you wrecked me, baby. And now we get AdSense taken down because I sang "Wrecked Me" by Tom Petty. Anyways, yeah, Shadur Sanders' draft stock went ape shit. It went out the window.
I wasn't thinking you were gonna go with the wreck me because we were gonna talk about the prank calling later, but because I was just going with it. It just nosedived so hard. And he was taken in round 5. Dylan Gabriel was taken 2 rounds earlier by the Cleveland Browns, for crying out loud. But Ruckus, we kind of have, I don't know if we have kind of the same agreeing things here, but why the fall? Why the fall to day 3 for Shador?
Too cocky, number one. So I think I had another thought on my way back home from work today about how does the behavior change of a player that went from going to high school to then going to college and getting about a few $1 million to play for a team through an NIL deal. How does their behavior transition from pretty much nothing to all of a sudden you got bans just being thrown at you? It's how do you deal with that, and then also your character on and off the field because of that? And Shador, in this case, it didn't really matter with the NIL deals because his father was a big NFL player that made millions of dollars.
Hall of Famer.
And a Hall of Famer. So it's how do you teach your kid the morality and ethics of all that stuff? Trust me, if I got a few $1 million, I'd probably be spending a little bit of that, but I would be still very careful about how I spend it.
Yeah. About the true power, about the power of a dollar.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know why. I have a feeling I know why he fell to round 5. It felt like Bo Callahan from Draft Day when everyone's like, why did Bo Callahan get drop all the way down out of the first round? And it's well, his character is just not great, and also it might have been that P. Diddy was his was his agent in the movie Draft Day. But yeah, I feel like it's almost like that, except for Shadur Sanders. Just, I don't think he is underrated. I think he's very overrated, and I feel like he was kind of like the Robin to Travis Hunter's Batman, in a sense. Yeah. And then Travis Hunter's backstory is also a lot better and more grindy versus Shador.
I will say that Travis Hunter low-key going back to near where home is with going to Jacksonville, that definitely feels good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say that I think that Shador Sanders' free fall to round 5 was kind of a twofold problem. Now, here, let me justify this here.
Okay, go ahead.
He's hyped up as a first-round talent. He doesn't get drafted first day. I see this coming. 1 to 32, Shador Sanders did not make it through the first round. That justification there, talent. The talent level on Shador Sanders was not first round worthy.
I mean,
I
thought it was weird that Jackson Dart was the first quarterback off the board, and he doesn't even look like he's built like a quarterback.
You mean the second quarterback off the board?
Oh yeah, you're right. Cam Ward was the first one. I'm dumb. I always forget about Cam Ward, so my bad, big dog. But Jackson Dart, who I call Dart Simpson because he looks like Bart, like he's got like that body look to him. Like if you look at his combine footage, you cannot tell me that this man has like a beer gut or like some kind of gut, and then the rest of his body is like kind of skinny. But I don't know. I'm Dart Simpson. Who the hell are you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, you kind of just took the concept of where I was going at here and kind of just told my second half of the point to eat your shorts. But I digress. Now, for Shedeur Sanders' fall from day 2 to day 3, this has to go beyond talent alone. Shedeur Sanders, I really, in my earnest thoughts, he probably would have been, I think, maybe a mid-second to an early third-round pick.
Hell, like, should Shiloh Sanders sign somewhere else?
And I'm talking based on his talent alone.
Yeah.
Based on talent alone. If you put Shedeur Sanders' talent level, just put it straight up in a vacuum, that's where I thought he would fall.
Yeah.
However, there's how he was conducted in meetings. There's been speculation on that. There's speculation on Dion and his potential meddling.
Well, like that's why Shiloh ended up going to get an agent, because his dad's influence was like kind of devaluing his draft stock after the draft. So he was like, "Screw this! I'm going to go somewhere else."
Have much of a stock. Do we really think that Shiloh Sanders had much of a draft stock to begin with?
I mean, we could say the same thing about Kobe Bryant, the KU cornerback as well. Like, I mean, Shiloh was more like humbled, I would say. Like, he was just kind of like, okay, like, I realize that my family has the spotlight right now, and that's probably not going to do well for me draft stock wise. But like, Kobe Bryant was just like pissing and moaning that he didn't get drafted at all, and it's like, well, you're playing on a football team that isn't really known to be that great at football, which is the KU Jayhawks. Like, they've been good the past couple of years, but I think since 2008 they were pretty shitty.
But let's also take this a step further with Shedeur. What were the things that he definitely did not do? He did not represent in any physical activity at the combine.
Correct.
He had a meeting fall through wrong with Brian Dable. He's had...
Did Joe Burrow opt out of the combine before he got drafted?
I mean, there's a different... There are some, yeah. And there are some that, yeah, you could feel that full liberty. But those were the quarterbacks that people were absolutely drafting high. Quarterback was not necessarily the rich commodity in this draft class. So if you really wanted to improve your stock and set yourself apart with the quarterbacks there, Shedeur probably should have put in some work at the combine.
Yeah, this wasn't no Caleb Williams situation.
Was his time to throw. His time to throw and the pat. And how he pats and throws. Like, you kind of want to see how that's affecting your time, like how that's affecting your timing at a potential NFL level. And now Shedeur Sanders, who thought he was all high and mighty and didn't necessarily have to compete because he was a Nepo baby to Coach Prime. I'm sorry, Shedeur. I'm sorry. Your training wheels have come off, my guy. It's time for you to run with the big dogs that are going to be competing for a starting spot. And I don't even think Shedeur Sanders is probably going to be good enough to even get that.
Well, you kind of screw that up by having him in the hands of the Browns, because it's like 5 different quarterbacks. Like we said earlier, you also have Gabriel in there, but like Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun, the massage parlor man Watson, and then so like my joke so far has been that like Deshaun Watson's gonna put some lore down about the best massage parlors in Cleveland, and then everybody else is just like, okay, dude, shut up. Like, bro, I actually went to this one parlor, it was great.
Okay. So Deshaun Watson, I don't even think is going to be healthy enough to start the season.
Right.
He's not going to be healthy enough to start the season.
He's moral support.
That's a very touchy subject.
But
Joe Flacco is probably going to be the starting quarterback.
I see what you did there,
yes.
Stennis.
A dinosaur Joe Flacco is probably going to be the week 1 starter. And then you have the backup is going to be, I probably should have had a pacifier in my mouth as I was complaining about competing for starting jobs, Kenny Pickett.
Well, he's got a Super Bowl ring. That's what he's got over all the rest. Flacco also has a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, Flacco. And there's a difference between Kenny Pickett's Super Bowl ring and Joe Flacco's. Joe Flacco actually started this Super Bowl.
Yep. And you can say the same thing about LaShawn McCoy. He was on the bench for 2 Super Bowls in a row that he won, that his team won. One being the Chiefs and one being the Buccaneers.
Yeah. But all that aside. And then Dylan Gabriel, who, yeah, I saw him when he was in Oklahoma. He wasn't bad. Just not as...
The transfer portal just sucked him in, just like all the other athletes.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what's really insane to me? The fact that Quinn Ewers, I don't know if he stayed another year with the Texas Longhorns, his NIL deal would have been like $7 million. Right now, he's getting paid about not even vetmin, just like league minimum, I guess.
Rookie bid, probably.
Like $780,000. Like you took away $7 million. It's like, damn.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he's a backup quarterback for Tua turned the ball over.
While Tua's throwing gang signs, Ewers is actually throwing the ball.
Again,
he just kind of pulls like a Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, and then just like goes head first into the wall, and then just breaks the glass. Oh, we've gone way off the walls on this episode.
You have sent it off the rails. But
why
was Shedeur Sanders a victim of the free-falling draft stock? He was also one of a few victims of the prank call for the draft, as the son of Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, who will not receive disciplinary action for this, So his son claimed to be Mickey Loomis to Shedeur Sanders, saying that he was going to be drafted by the New Orleans Saints. Other players that had prank calls involved were guys of Tyler Warren and Kyle McCord. And Kyle McCord was a quarterback as well. He was a quarterback for Syracuse that was ultimately picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles in round 6.
Jeff Ulbricht's kid is like, "Hey Shadur, is your refrigerator running?" And then Shadir's like, yeah, actually, it's very cold. Well, you better go get it." And then he's like, "Hee hee 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 hee. Oh, by the way, you're getting drafted by the Saints." Lol, JK.
Yeah. But the question is, has the concept of the prank call in the draft gone entirely too far? And does the NFL need to change or alter this portion of the draft to avoid this from happening?
I think it's just a added homage to the "this wasn't on my bingo card" for 2025, but at the same time, like, I think it's not that bad as long as it doesn't infringe on, like, the anti-cheat rules or whatever for the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it was like, oh, someone was listening on the line and got, like, intel that was probably not allowed to have, you know? Kind of like with the, where do we draw the line between players being able to bet or not bet on sports while in the locker room or whatnot? Like, it's kind of like in that realm, I feel.
I disagree.
Like, that mix, I guess.
I think this is egregious. And not that saying prank calling is... Hey, prank calling is not a fun thing at all. I mean, it sounds fun for the person there, but just think if that goes left.
I mean, I feel like prank calls are almost like a butt dial in a sense. Like, they're just like kind of weird in the moment, but then you're just like, oh, haha, that's funny. You ass dialed me.
Well, it's a little bit. There's a little bit of a difference between there's a very, very fine line between a prank call and a butt dial. It is intention. A butt dial is more so something that happens entirely on accident. A prank call, you're actually intending to prank somebody with this phone call. Now,
what if the prank call was a butt dial?
Other than the obvious, like, now you're just trying to think of this entirely like some Impractical Jokers type stuff. And the only difference with that is that the Impractical Jokers, compared to some of this stuff with that these prospects are getting, the Impractical Jokers are just doing that more so out of like pure humor. The matter is of life-altering situation. That these players who are sitting in their homes with their families are going to have to prepare to uproot. And yeah, a prank call for the location of where you're going, just to find out that you weren't the one picked at that spot, that's a little messed up. Because it could have been a very good situation for you, and all of a sudden that team had actually passed on you. Like, it could messes with the mojo. It messes with the actual true intention of what the NFL draft is. I think that the NFL draft is going to probably have to run exclusively through a certain thing that says that either is like exclusively draft style phones, specifically draft cell phones that are like run on like such a temporary thing. Keep the numbers under lock and key, more so reserving it for head coaches only.
You should tell Pete Hegseth about that. Because last time that happened, it was a, oh, I just
What?
got this random reporter in here to talk about our devious plans. I don't know, just dumb politics. Also, kind of funny, controversial joke.
But yes, I think the NFL does need to adjust this because the prank calls, the amount of them, and especially because this prank call, especially now, the prank calls are coming into the light and being exposed. So I think that the NFL will find a way to make a change. What that change is going to be, what that's going to look like, we still got a whole calendar year to figure that out.
You know what they should actually do? They should double down. Next year, the Falcons' defensive coordinator's son should just get 100 pizzas delivered to the player's house. There's here, sir, it says here that you have 100 pepperoni pizzas. And yes, I'm gonna do the squeaky teen voice from The Simpsons. Here we go.
That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard.
I mean, it's a prank.
Trying to double down on something that clearly does not matter. That clearly had no matter in this whole thing because it's just it's too impactful to have much of anything because you're affecting with players and their potential career livelihood.
It's all random at the end of the day, though, in a sense.
I mean,
I get that the players work their tails off to get there.
Is it really though? Because the team in the draft room actually has to make the selection.
I don't know. I don't know if you really need to debate that. It's more just
this sounds like something the Jets owner would do.
No, he goes off a Madden rating. He goes off a Madden rating. I don't know what you're talking about.
Or more so, actually, let me go ahead and say this. It's probably more so something that you would find generally designed for Las Vegas to do. Just spin a roulette wheel, drop a ball down, and see where it lands.
Big bucks, no whammy, stop! Oh, shit. Whammy. Wah, wah.
Oh, that's what happened when you decided to press your luck. I'm taking Wheel of Fortune, my guy!
Well, I have no fortune, so joke's on me.
That's because you stopped on a whammy.
Wow.
At this point, we now can move on to the primetime game portion where we now can officially say that both challenge videos have been recorded and we will have them up later this week.
Yep.
Next week, on the next episode, we will have a new set of challenges. And now we will move on to our stud and dud of the week. Ruckus, what you got?
All right, so for my dud, I'm going to start with that first. The new City Connects for the Chicago White Sox are just... I honestly personally think they aren't that great. Even when they explain what the meaning of different parts of the jersey are there, it still confuses the shit out of me. And if I was just a general MLB fan, I knew the teams or whatever, the logos, if I saw that, I'd be really confused. I'd be like, is this like a Temu knockoff of like a Red Sox jersey idea, or did ChatGPT make it, or what were they thinking? Like the Chicago Bulls theme with it, I guess would be cool, but I honestly just like the uniform. I don't like the hat or anything else. But I like the South Side jersey better than this jersey. I feel like they knocked it out of the park with the first one. So I guess they just wanted to see what the crowd was going to, how they were going to react. But in lighter news, though, my stud this week, Maxwell Hairston, which I believe was a North Carolina product, being the hype man for draftees of the first round until he was picked 30th overall by the Bills. Dude, literally, you would probably maybe have met him for like a minute, and he comes after you. He comes to you like he's known you for like 10 years as a best friend forever. Oh my god, like, congratulations, man, you got it. Yeah, come over here, brother. Like, I'd probably be doing the same thing if I had the charisma and the extrovertedness to like go up to somebody and be able to like hug them while they're like walking down the aisle at the draft. I think that's a very cool way to show like, hey, you have a good personality and you're a good locker room presence if you ever just get picked on or decided on based on morale for the team. I think it's good. Anyways, go ahead, Spedis.
Okay. So let me start real fast in talking about the Bulls White Sox City Connect. This is a first of its kind jersey in terms of having another team's history crossover kind of put in there, that it's a groundbreaking crossover between the MLB and the NBA and with the White Sox and the Bulls. The Wings sock is interesting, but it looks too much like the Goodyear logo or the Red Wings logo. Well, not really the Red Wings, but more so the Goodyear logo.
Yeah.
In certain ways, although instead of a tire, it's a sock. But I think that this, as far as talking a City Connect, the concept is great. The promotional opportunity that they could do for this is intriguing and could leave a lot of open doors, but the actual bread in Chicago design and everything just looks more like a miss rather than a hit. It just looks more like a swing and a miss than anything else. Does the pinstripe top look bad? It's a nostalgic 90s look. But in all honesty, it's not the best thing. They could have done a bunch of other different things. They could have changed it all light blue and done stuff themed around the city, like themed around the city flag of Chicago, like the Bulls have done in the past. I mean, give this about a few years, and then all of a sudden the White Sox could potentially start thinking of something for the Bears. Or maybe that gets reserved for the Cubs. But
something kind of like what the Bengals did, where it's like that white on black, like the leopard kind of look.
Not necessarily. The Cincinnati Bengals white tiger look is actually really good.
I was just wondering because
it's a good version.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right? The bear claw that's on the helmet. There was like one of the designs that I played with on our Super Bear race content. There was one uniform where the helmet has like that bear claw like scratching through it. What if they did an adaptation where it was like white on black, kind of like how they did with the Bengals with the white tiger? I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think that the Bears maybe more so would be better for the Cubs to do if they were to if Chicago was to double down on it, because Bear, Cub, you've kind of got like the match made in heaven type thing set up there. So there's always room for possibility, but that just it leaves a little room. The City Connect for the White Sox left room for desire. The first one was better.
Yeah.
But we will start with my honorable mention for this. As the Washington Commanders, yes, I am going to be praising my organization again. But this one is also a really good, like, this is Josh Harris once again. They probably had some know-how on this. That Gabriel Taylor, the younger brother of late Commander safety Sean Taylor, is getting an opportunity to compete for a spot in the organization by the Commanders. That they are giving him an opportunity to compete. And that for me, as a fan, it's like you actually get to actually present him an opportunity. It's not really a nepo type thing, because he's still got to compete and get that spot. But I think that it shows a move that, yeah, Josh Harris is in touch with the fan base, and now that they're seeing Sean Taylor's younger brother have this opportunity, it's kind of nice. Kind of nice that the first organization to possibly give him a call is the organization his brother played for. So I was happy about that.
Kind of like a Bo and Josh Naylor kind of scenario with the Guardians back in the day, where he got the chance to play with his brother.
Yeah, where they had that opportunity. Yeah. My actual stud this week goes to none other than Mason Graham for giving Liam Cohen the best trolling and ribbing of his opening press conference in a pre-draft interview with absolutely no issues. No issues, no repercussions, nothing. As he just gave him like the straight Duval. But instead it was like Liam Cohen's Duval type ordeal. And trust me, I know that it's really Duval. I know exactly that because I did it all the time for the Jaguars Super Bowl run.
Dude, it reminds me of that awkward meme where the kid, whenever they're playing the song Tequila, it's like do 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 do, and he just goes tequila, and then just like awkwardly like smiles, and then just goes red in the face. That's what I was thinking from Cohen. It's just like Duval. Do 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 do.
I'm sorry.
Do 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 do. Duval.
I'm surprised that no one has gone viral with doing that as a meme yet. Like, not even when the thing first came around, nobody did that. But that just is the ultimate way to do it. But my dud, though, the brother is to a brother of Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, who is in the UFL. Granted that two of his brothers are on the Michigan Panthers, but particularly the one that we're talking about here is Samson Nacua. he got into a confrontation with a fan, and the end result being a Will Smith-like slap from Nakua to the fan. And then the UFL investigated, stepped in, and then slapped Samson Nakua with a single game suspension, which means he cannot play in this Sunday's game against the DC Defenders. It's like as if this whole thing just simply said, what did the five fingers say to the face? Smack! And let's take us out, Ruckus.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, the best sports podcast in the land. I am Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus and The Menace.
And we'll see you guys in 144 next week with a new challenge, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, we'll have new challenges.
All right, deuces.
Deuces.